What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone is having a great night. We got another episode of Miami Hurricanes football after dark. We took a little break with Canes football. We had Thanksgiving break, but we're back. We got a great group of guests. We got Mike McCoy back on the show, Kevin Smith as well. Check those guys out, man, on their podcast, on their radio stations. I'm sure all of you guys know about them, but if you don't, we will be dropping their podcast names, radio station names, in the link in the description below. Ross, my co-host, where do we even begin, man? It's been since November 15th, I believe, that we last played Virginia Tech. It's literally been 3 bye weeks. And we're playing Duke, who wasn't even on our schedule to begin with. It's just been a roller coaster ride. Where do we even start with this upcoming matchup against – in my opinion, I think this is a very sneaky game.
I got a chance actually lately to do a little bit of research on Duke because it wasn't a team that I really had done much on because, like you said, we didn't have them on our schedule early, or initially. What I see with Duke, honestly, is I see a team that wants to run the ball first no matter what. Their bread and butter is running the ball, and if they can get stuff off the play action, that's what they're going to go with. But they have a running back with the last name Durant. I want to say his name's Mateo Durant. That would be the guy that I got my eyes on, honestly. I think that he's the one that can give us some problems. They'll even send him down 20-plus yards on routes and stuff like that as well out of the backfield. So, I mean, he is a multi-versatile weapon. The Duke game in general, I mean, I got to be a little worried just because we don't look our best when we come off of a bye week, let alone 3 weeks of not playing football. So it's a tough one for me, that whole trap game thing and stuff like that. Those words definitely pop into my head. Mike, man, what do you see with this Duke game, dude?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay. I mean, you said it. In terms of the the bye week situation, I'm not as concerned simply because of the fact that I'm trying to do my best to make last year, right? So far this year, Miami's been doing everything that they're supposed to do. They've been winning the games that they're supposed to win. This would fall into that category. So, does the bye week have me a little concerned? Yeah, it does, but not like super concerned like it was last year, that it was like a trend, like what the hell is going on after bye weeks? You don't play for 3 weeks. You have to worry about conditioning, all this stuff. So, I mean, it's going to serve as a positive and a negative. Positive being, I mean, we heard Coach Justice saying that we're as healthy as we've been in a long time in terms of the O-line is concerned. So you have pluses. The negatives would be, some rust and things of that sort. So, in terms of the research you said you were doing on Duke, I did very minimal. The only thing I did come up with is that they allow a lot of points and they don't really score a lot of points. So it doesn't mean anything. Okay, they're going to have to play Miami just like anybody else is. So I guess it's just a wait and see. But if Miami, wants to go ahead and continue on their promise of beating everyone that beat them last year, then we should be in for a good surprise. Not a good surprise, but we should be in for a decent win on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll weigh in here. I think we caught a huge break, honestly. The Wake, I mean, everyone's saying, like the mix up, the schedule change, everything. The Wake Forest game scared the bejesus out of me, man. Those boys can score.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked their quarterback, Sam Hartman. I think he's kind of under the radar when it comes to the ACC. And this is honestly, bye weeks aside, this is the most relaxed week I've had this whole season. I'm not worried one bit. I have done a little research on Duke. Chase Bryce, it's actually interesting because when Chase Bryce said he was transferring to Duke, I thought with Cutcliffe, that was going to be a match made in heaven. And I really thought he was going to make that Duke team pretty good, average to decent. And it has not gone that way. The dude's thrown only 9 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. So he's very turnover prone. I think the defense is going to come to play. It's the worst offense I think we've played all year. And I think you include UAB in that, in my opinion. So I think the defense needs to have, I know it's been 3 bye weeks, but I think defense needs to have one of their best showings of the year If not, we have a lot bigger problems than we ever thought because this team is just lacking playmakers. They're lacking, mostly everything you need to have a fully functioning offense, especially at the quarterback position. And they give it 56 points to Georgia Tech. I mean, that's really all I need to know about their defense at this point. You have 56 points to a true freshman quarterback. I mean, you got some problems on the defense. So, I mean, to be honest, it's a 15-point spread and you're on the road. I want to be optimistic and say we cover. But like you said, the 3 bye weeks, you never know. There just may be some rust. It may take like a quarter or so to kind of really get things going. But I'm not worried one bit.
Yeah, it's an interesting game because Duke, it's going to be an empty stadium. They're not going to have any family members there. It's not even media per se. It's just really like if you are like really closely tied to the Duke football program, are you part of their personnel? That's the only way you're getting in. They're being very strict. It is going to be cold. It's going to be 38 degrees at night, 8 p.m. game. You got to get your heart rate going. They've been playing in Miami, Coral Gables. I know even guys who are from the Northeast, from the North Carolina area. It's probably, I think it's 61 degrees in the morning. Someone tweeted out today in Coral Gables. So, I mean, it's night and day from 38 degrees. Right. One thing people haven't brought up yet, Duke has 2 defensive ends that are very good players. They both combined for a total of 15.5 sacks.
Yeah, Rumph is very good.
Yes.
I'll give them that. He's very good, Rumph.
I'm very curious how our offensive line matches up against their defensive end duo. It's going to be a very interesting game, in my opinion. I think ultimately the 21 days, 3 weeks that we had off, I think that personally for me, that gives an edge to Miami. You have elite athletes and new athletes in the ACC, Jalen Phillips, Quincy Roche, De'Ara King. You have a new offense. We already know what to expect from Duke. Yes, they have a new quarterback, but he doesn't have the prettiest stat line. 9 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Yeah, he came from Clemson, Coach Cutcliffe, quarterback guru. He taught the Mannings or what's his name, Daniel Jones as well. But, he makes lemonade out of the lemons he has at Duke. It's a basketball dynasty, but I'm not worried. I think Miami has the edge with the 3 weeks off. And that's just my opinion, but I think we get off to a slow start come Saturday night. What do you think, Ross?
I can definitely see where a slow start would be a very realistic possibility with all of this for multiple reasons. Weather, time off, just different variations. One thing that I saw that really stood out to me about Duke is they don't really appear to be able to put together 4 quarters of quality football. If you give them even just decent football for 3 quarters, good chances you're going to pull away in that 4th quarter. They really don't seem to be able to stop teams when they want to pile it on after halftime. Even in regards to the game that they won against Syracuse, I mean, Syracuse just missed plays. They were there. Syracuse could have been right back in that game and gotten into it. They just flat out missed plays. Going to be plays that I don't think that we're going to miss like they missed, honestly, with King at quarterback. I think even with a slow start, we really can, pull away after halftime. I don't see any reason why we can't.
Kevin, what do you think's the game plan going into this game offense?
Game plan. I think you kind of hit on the head a little bit. I do think Duke has 2 very superior defensive ends. So this may be a very run-heavy game plan for Lashley. We haven't really seen a big running attack probably since the Louisville game and maybe the FSU game, where it's been very run-heavy at times, and they've really taken advantage of lack of playmaking abilities on the defensive side of the ball. So they may take it out of De'Ara King's hands a lot of the times because our offensive line isn't as good as we had hoped early on in the year that they were showing that they were. So they may take it out of his hands and really run Cameron, Jalen, and Don Cheney, which I'm going to go on record and saying that I've always said Don Cheney should be the number 1 running back on this team. I think he has the best skill set. I think he's the most physically impactful. And that's as a true freshman. So I just think he has the full package. I would love to see him get more burn because every time they put him in the game, you saw it against Virginia Tech. And it's very interesting, too. If you go back against Virginia Tech, the last couple drives we had the ball, Don Cheney was in the game, which I thought was very interesting because it was very crucial minutes. And they put a lot of faith in him, which I thought was pretty interesting. And he got first downs almost every time he touched the ball. But I think it's going to be very run heavy. I think it's going to be, I want to see something out of Blake Baker. He's been very underwhelming this year. I mean, I think we've all understood that. And you can't let a Duke team we've seen it with the big plays this year. A Duke team that's lacking playmakers, lacking a skill set at the quarterback position. Like, I don't want to see any 30, 40-yard passes down the field. That should not happen. If they're going to go score a touchdown on us, they need to dink and dunk us down the field because, we shouldn't be allowing big plays against Duke. This Duke team, at least. So that's what I think is going to happen.
Man, I'll tell you what. If you would have told me the future starting running back at Miami would have gone to Belen Jesuit Senior High School, I would think the world's ending, personally. I mean, seriously.
Well, believe it, man. He's the truth. I'm telling you. He's the truth.
I got to love it. Got to love it, man. Mike, do you agree with Kevin? Do you think Don Cheney should get more snaps in the run game compared to, Knighton and Cam Harris?
I tweeted during the offseason twice, and my prediction was that he was going to be started by midseason.
Okay, wow.
So, I mean, that's what I felt about him. I mean, you look at him run, and he looks like a cross between McGahee and I can't find the other running back. I'm torn between a Portis or maybe like a Duke in terms of like how kind of slippery they are. But McGahee's definitely one half of that equation. The physicality, the build, obviously not the speed because McGahee was probably the fastest out of those three. But yeah, I mean, listen, the one thing you've seen from Manny, not that he makes many decisions or any decisions, I think offensively, but he's not afraid to make changes, whether it be on the staff, whether it be with personnel. We've seen it 2 off seasons in a row that whatever needs to get done, it happens. So he's going to do what's best for the team, in my opinion. Okay. And so remember, people forget. I mean, the guy was a fan first. He wants to see this team win just like anyone else. Yeah, he's a Knoll grad, but the guy's a Cane through and through. But I would not mind Cheney getting more grabs. I'm sorry, not more grabs, but more touches. My thing is play the hot hand. Whoever's hot. Kevin said at the end of the game, Virginia Tech game, that Cheney was getting more snaps than anyone else. So go with what's working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's kind of like a mantra you got to live by in sports.
Ross, what are your thoughts offensively from Miami, to be very proactive in this game? I think because like Mike said, I think, the key is, to be aggressive, knock Duke out the game early. Don't let a subpar below average team hang around and give them a pulse. Kill their pulse in the first half. Just knock them out. What are your thoughts?
I think with you guys bringing up the fact of those 2 quality defensive ends they have, I do believe that the interior will be a big thing for us, and I believe that we can actually win on the interior versus their defensive line. The power run game in general, this feels like the game to me where we might be able to truly revive that again, hopefully, and have it going forward again. I've missed that in the offense. It's something I've wanted to see. Yes, get Cheney more carries. Get Rooster involved however you can. There will be a reason to get Harris involved in this in the power run game as well. We have 3 running backs that I believe can have success in this game. If we get that run game going early and often, guys, I think we're going to cruise in this game, honestly. We have the ability to handle this team very easily if we do things right.
One thing I want to add is like how Coach Justice said, we're as healthy as we've been in a long time on the offensive line. They said that they were going to, very slowly get Navon Donaldson back involved. And the only way he pretty much is probably going to play a lot is if he dominates in practice this week. Let's say he does. Let's say, just putting positive energy out there, he does. That's an added piece that nobody thought we were going to have going into the game. And that's a guy that you play obviously in the interior. He's a mammoth. Okay, he's huge. So we'll see. He has fresh legs. The guy, his true freshman year was what, all ACC freshman team or something like that. So we'll see, man. He had a knee injury last year that knocked him out. So 350, you got to take your time bringing a guy as big as that back in. But if he is available to play, I think that does you run behind him.
I think Donaldson's a huge piece to think about because, like you said, Mike, freshman year we thought he was gonna be all world, man. We thought he was 3 years and done, gone, and then he struggled with his weight. His weight kind of got up there to the point where it put a lot of pressure on his legs, his knees, everything on the lower half, and he just struggled. His conditioning wasn't there. And if he can get back to that freshman level where, his conditioning was there, he seemed like he had it all together before he kind of his weight kind of got up there and he lost a little bit of his edge. Yeah. That's a key piece, not even for the end of this year, but going into next year. You think about, you need leaders on the offensive line when your first game is against Alabama. And if we can get Navon to the point where he's getting back to that level, and then you have a veteran guy like him anchoring that offensive line, you have a skate coming back who's now a junior. You have Gaynor, who I think is also a junior, or maybe a senior.
I think he's a junior right now.
So then you have a more experienced offensive line that hopefully at that point they've gotten a little better this year. Hopefully next year they can take that huge step to where they become good. Because I think right now they're still average. I don't think they're below average. I think they're just average. They struggle against good defenses, but against average to subpar defenses, they can dictate the game. So I think hopefully next year they can take that next step to where they're against good defenses like elite defenses like Alabama. They're not getting blown off the ball every snap.
And Kev, to just add to your point, Marsh came out with an article from State of the U. Rhett Lashley, his first year at SMU compared to his second year, it was a huge marginal jump he made in improvement. So I personally think if we get everyone back on board to return, I think we can have a really, really stellar season.
And you got to think too, he had COVID to deal with also. So not even this is his first year, it's his first year cut in half. Because they didn't have a spring game. They didn't have all these extra practices that they needed. Everything was all kind of jumbled up. So the fact that he was able to get this offense to at least this level with all the distractions and the issues going on in the world, I think next year is going to be, fantastic, especially if King comes back.
Speaking of that, guys, do you expect everyone to come back or maybe specific players to leave? We can start with you, Ross.
Well, I sure as heck would like everybody to come back. I'll say that right off the jump. I don't think any of these guys are truly ready to go. Maybe if a guy like right tackle Jared Williams wants to take that jump, I understand that. He came to Miami to show up a little, to get himself on the map a little more and stuff. I know he hasn't had a great showing at the U, but with his age and stuff like that, I could see him taking that jump. But guys like King, Bubba Bolden, I would hate to see them go. Honestly, I don't think they're going to go. I really don't think they're going to go, but we see this happen yearly, guys. We see guys leave early. They get some kind of advice from somebody and they just take off. So if I had to pinpoint one guy that might leave, I'd have to say it'd probably be Bubba Bolden, honestly.
Interesting. Mike, do you agree with that statement or any other players that you want to add on that may declare?
The thing with Bubba is that he's clearly, we've seen him kind of, out of position the last couple of times. We saw him like Virginia Tech. It happened on that long run from, I forget the quarterback's name, the Virginia Tech quarterback. But in any event, when he's on his game, I'm not even going to say top three best safety in the country. He's the best safety in the country when he's at his peak, in my opinion. Okay. So if I'm him, and I'm nobody to talk about anybody's money, but I'm only leaving if I know I have a first round grade because I feel I'm the best safety in the country. Okay. There's no reason I need to leave if I'm getting a second round grade. Obviously, different scouts have different, you know, grades or how they grade things. But if I'm bold, I'm only leaving if I get a first round grade. King, I think he has some things to prove because I think he can look way better than this in a system like this. This system is tailor made for him. Okay, Lashley's system, and he hasn't looked his best. I get it; it's not all his fault. Sometimes the receivers didn't make him look great. Sometimes the O line didn't make him look great. But even still, I mean, I think he could afford to look a little or stay to show the scouts that he belongs. And think about it. This is a guy that was in Heisman talks before the season started. So it wasn't just Miami fans that thought highly of him. So did Heisman voters. So um, I mean, it benefits everybody to stay, but there's nobody on the roster that I say, and not even Brevin, because that's a guy that's always hurt and always out. But if he's at his peak, that's another guy. That's a first round grade as well. We have guys with first round talent. I just don't know if they've had first round productivity.
Kevin.
Realistically, no one should leave early, if we're being honest here, because before the season, the only guy that should leave early is the guy that opted out, Greg Rousseau, which, in my opinion, now I'm looking at some mocks, man, and they have Greg Rousseau not going until like maybe the late second, going into the third. And the problem is now, I think what's happening, and I think it'll help him at the combine because once they see his measurables and how much of a freak he is, that's when he's going to shoot up. But I think people are starting to forget a little bit about him now because he had that huge year and now he's just not playing. And a lot of guys are just kind of like sleeping on him a little bit. So I think he'll be fine. But you got guys like Brevin, which before the season, I thought he was gone because I thought, okay, he's going to be healthy. He's going to have a huge year. He's going to be a first round pick. But now he's spent almost his whole year just off and on, injuries. At times, Mallory's looked better than him. It's kind of like, okay, who's the better draft prospect, really? Is it Brevin? Is it Mallory? Mallory's got the more NFL type body. And then you got Bubba Bolden, like what Mike said, is like sometimes you wonder, you shake your head like, is this the same guy I saw screaming on the sidelines at Clemson, dominating parts of the game? And especially like you said on that play with Hendon Hooker, where he literally just it was so weird. He shot the gap, but then he kind of stopped. And I was just kind of like, what happened? Did you take a wrong angle? So it's plays like that where, and I think his grade is going to be around somewhere the third round, honestly, because I've been looking at some mock drafts from some guys and they have him going like the 89th, 90th pick. And if that's the case, there's no reason not to come back because you got to think about too, these guys aren't losing eligibility also. So if you don't get better than a third round grade, you should come back. You have no reason not to come back. You even have 2 extra years to play now that you can hone your skill, get better, and then get drafted higher. And then what's worrying me now is you look at Jalen Phillips, he's starting to kind of prove to everyone why he was that number 1 overall pick. No, not number 1 overall, but number 1 overall high school recruit. He's starting to dominate some games here. So I think if he starts to string some together, I don't know, man. He could start getting into that second round range. He may want to test the waters a little bit. But honestly, realistically, everyone should come back because this team would be so much better next year if everyone came back. Literally everyone. And that's the thing you see across college football is the teams that are good are the most veteran. Usually they have veteran guys all across the field. And think about it. Think about it this year. If Garvin never left, Bandy, all these guys that left early and didn't do anything, Jeff Thomas in Lashley's system, if all these guys didn't leave, how much better would this team be? That's the thing is you need to think about. And that's the thing, they're not even producing in the NFL. They're literally on practice squads or not even on a roster. So these guys, I said beginning of this year, I said, you'll start to see if Manny starts to change the culture. Because one of the things you change is getting guys to stay that should stay, because that's when you start to build depth and, have veteran guys at the top and you fill it with depth for younger guys instead of having to thrust all these young guys into playing time before they're ready.
I got a question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
That rule, because of COVID, that nobody you loses eligibility, that goes for seniors as well, right?
Correct.
Okay. Harley should probably come back.
Oh, yeah. They all
He should probably come back because he's hitting his stride. I get it, but he's probably not on anybody's draft board.
No.
What about what do you guys think about Quincy Roche? Because I've seen him listed as an outside linebacker going in the second, third round in some of these mocks.
He'll go.
Wow.
I think he'll leave just specifically because he's an older guy. I think he's like 23. I think he turns 24 because he redshirted, I think, his first year at Temple, and now he's a grad transfer. So he's older, and that's one of the reasons why I'm worried about King. King turns 24 in like a couple months. So, like, I mean, it's like, how late does this guy want to try to get to the NFL? You know, it's one of those things where, you know, I know Mike said he has a lot more to prove, but I don't think he's going to be an NFL quarterback. Right. So I think if he wants to go, he goes, and he tries to become like a Braxton Miller, or like he tries to become like a wide receiver, like a slot guy. Like, I just don't think he's going to be a quarterback. Like, he just doesn't have, like, you know, he doesn't have the measurables. He doesn't have the arm strength. Like, I just don't think he has. He's a great college quarterback, but I don't think he has the NFL talent. So I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves for that reason.
Here's my thing with that too, Kev, is like, I don't even see D'Eriq King as a wide receiver at the next level. You mentioned Braxton Miller. You know, I'll throw in Terrell Pryor, another example. I mean, those guys were
superior athletes.
Yeah. Those guys were elite at Ohio State. I mean, D'Eriq King was a good athlete at Houston. You know, come to Miami, I don't think he's as superior as an athlete as those guys. I just don't think, you know, at that position, wide receiver, it's going to work out for him at the next level. And I just think he's a good college football playmaker, you know? Like,
yeah, then maybe he realizes that and he just says, hey, I want to come back and try to win big, you know? I mean, maybe he realizes, listen, then maybe the next level is just, you know, I'll just come back and try to have that year that I came to Miami to have.
Exactly. You know? And then maybe a team kind of says, hey, like, look at Jalen Hurts with the Eagles. They took a gamble with him. They took him in the third round, I believe. Maybe, you know, D'Eriq King, he puts on a great show next year, comes back. Hey, maybe a team takes a gamble on him and, you know, he makes some money from getting drafted, improving his draft stock. I personally, a name we haven't mentioned yet, and this was reported by Barry Jackson, the Miami Herald, Jared Williams is expected to declare and leave Miami to the NFL draft. You know, it's another guy who he's probably in his fifth year of college football, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another name we would be losing.
That would make sense.
Halfway into the show, guys, stickersbyab.com. Go check those guys out, man. Some of the best sticker designs. Not only do they have Miami Hurricanes sticker designs, they do the Miami Heat. I know Kevin's got a picture with Ronnie Cycli in the back. I got my Brian, what was his name? Brian Grant bobblehead as well. So check those guys out, man. They got Miami Dolphins gear. If you're a big Tua Tagovailoa fan, they got stickers for him as well. So check those guys out. Guys, halfway through the show, we got to talk recruiting. All right? A lot of interesting things are going on. Demarius McGee just decommitted from Tennessee. He's a cornerback, 4-star recruit out of Pensacola Catholic, all the way up north in Florida. Also, Terrence Lewis, another decommitment from Tennessee as well. Guys, how are we feeling going into these recruiting battles? I know Terry and Arnold, we did not make his top 5. He was a safety out of Tallahassee, Florida. Ross, I mean, how do you feel moving into these recruiting battles, going up against a lot of SEC elite opponents?
Well, I got to say, I mean, for a second there, I felt pretty good about the Terrence Lewis stuff, but things I've been hearing today kind of have me thinking twice about it, honestly. There's multiple things that I've heard, not only from teams like Texas A&M and them might having an upper leg on us, but that our staff really didn't think that he checked off all those boxes that we always talked about in the past that we wanted them to check off with him. I'm not 100% sure where we lie with Terrence Lewis, frankly. I really don't know at the moment. What I do know at the moment is we have to land a cornerback recruit. There has to be somebody coming in that we can work on to develop. I'm not sure who is in charge of that right now. We know Rumpf doesn't like to hit the trail as hard as some of these other guys. I know Banda gets involved in a lot of this. I'm not quite sure who's in charge of all the CB recruiting right now, but whatever's going on, we have to bring in somebody that we can develop. I mean, yeah, we can hit the transfer portal and look for guys to play immediately, but I want to keep developing guys. We're the U. We shouldn't have any problem bringing in cornerback recruits.
The problem with Okay, so here's where I'm at. I struggle with the elite recruits that aren't safeties. Banda's already proved that he's, I think, an elite recruiter. I think at this point that you got Avante, you got James Williams, he's getting all these guys to come to the U. I think we can say now he's an elite. He's a top 20 recruiter. He is on 24/7. He's a top 20 recruiter. But the problem is when you get down to like linebackers and then like even corners too, who is our recruiter? Like, that's the thing, is like, how do you expect to land Terrence Lewis unless you're just hoping that all the South Florida kids just say, hey, come play with us? Like, if that's your biggest recruiting tool, like, I think for that, because who's a recruiter? Papke? Like, who the hell has Papke ever gotten to come to the U that's elite? Like, let's be serious here. So, like, when you're throwing names like Jimbo Fisher, Auburn, like I'm sorry, but I don't have much faith in us being able to land Terrence Lewis. And also, like Ross said, is I think we haven't been big on Terrence Lewis the whole time just because he's had some off the field issues, or actually technically on the field, but he's had some problems, and I think Manny is trying to hone a culture, and maybe he doesn't think he fits that culture. I don't know. I think you need to take him. He's super elite. Like, I just think that's the athletes you need. McGee, I don't think he's ours either. I think he goes to either LSU or another SEC school. I'm just not big on anyone right now. What I want to know is where the hell is Jake Garcia going to school? That's what I want to know. I feel like he's playing this game that he wants to like make it a big announcement, and people are like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. Because why hasn't Lashley landed a quarterback yet? Like, doesn't this just feel a little weird, like, to you guys? Like, we're in December, like the early signing period is like coming up like really soon, and he just doesn't seem like he's really like on anyone's tail, or like, I think he's the type of guy that wants to take a quarterback every cycle. So it's like, I think he has something in his hand that he just knows. He knows Jake Garcia is coming. Maybe he's a silent commit and he wants to blow it up like in February or something, because it just doesn't seem like there's not names anywhere. There's no quarterback names. The only quarterback name I hear is his. That's it. So it's like kind of weird to me. But right now it's just, I think you're not going to, the only thing with me is I don't want to take another Jag, just another guy. We've done this for years where we're just like, hey, let's just go take like this Covington cornerback, the guy Covington out of Texas. Like, why are we taking this guy? Like, he's just going to be a guy that's going to transfer in 2 years, or he's just going to be another Knowles that just isn't good. And, we're just stuck watching him play for 3 or 4 years. Like, I'd rather just hit the transfer portal and just, honestly, if you have to take 2-3 cornerbacks, like, do it. This is going to be, they've been saying is going to be one of the biggest transfer portal years since it was in existence. So just hit it. But they need to take a hard look at Rump, because this can't keep happening.
Mike, what are your thoughts on the recruiting kind of overview from Miami so far?
I have no idea what the hell's going on. Like, I am just like, I used to be, not that I am an outsider when it comes to recruiting. I'm just definitely not as big in it as I used to be. I remember I took a day off to watch, I forgot what signing day it was, the linebacker from Booker T that ended up with Matthew Thomas. Okay, because I swore he was going to Miami, and I just stayed pissed off at my TV for the rest of the day. And ever since then, it just hasn't been the same for me. But to Kev's point about, the whole quarterback thing, very good point. Like, you don't hear a lot of things about except Jake. But, and I know this sounds crazy to a lot of people because you got to take a quarterback every class, right? I don't think, I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't happen, okay? Because of the need that, Miami has at cornerback, and, there's just other guys out there. And plus, Van Dyke is that dude. I think he's the guy for the future. I like him a lot. I'm not the only one that feels that, he's the leader and,
Mike, I want to throw you a question real quick. I want to know what you think, because we're on quarterbacks right now. If Derek King declares, do you think Manny is going to go out for another grad transfer, or do you think he's going to throw TVD to the Wolves against Alabama first game of the year next year? Because that ain't going to end well.
I think TVD is the guy, man. I think TVD is the guy.
That's
I
terrifying.
do. I do. I mean, he's been in the system. He hasn't had any snaps. I get it, but he's been in the system, and that you have to go into that game assuming that's the situation. You can't let him win the game. You have to have the O line straight. You have the receivers got to be on point. The running game has to do its thing. The defense has to do its thing because Alabama's scoring points. But that's a game that you don't want TVD to have to win. You know what I'm saying? And Borregales is going to be gone, but baby Borregales is coming in. So hopefully the special teams is still elite in that aspect. But I'm rolling with TVD if that's the case. But going back to the recruiting thing, man, I have no idea. I used to think up until like Ross said, up until today, you started hearing some things about other schools. I forgot who tweeted it that he was saying that Lewis and Williams, James Williams, they talked about playing in college together since they were kids. So that right there made me say, "Oh man, he's Miami's to lose." But then that was yesterday, and then today is a whole different thing. I've always said that I'd pass on him because of the simple fact, the culture thing. I know it's an elite athlete. I get it, but um, give me culture over athleticism. Like I'm sorry, that's how I feel. You win as a team, and if everybody's on the same page, you'll get you'll get the results that you want. It's not going to be a one guy making super plays, all the time. But give me some cornerbacks, man. And I actually like our linebacker class as is, and I'm okay if there's no quarterback taken. Lastly, can pick any quarterback to play in this system. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of fine with recruiting right now. I think they're trying to push for Demarius McGee. Yeah, I definitely think it's a positive start. He flipped from Tennessee, decommitted from Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
That it's fair game now. I just think that
Mm-hmm.
Miami's still on the outside looking in. Um, you know, like Mike perfectly said, there was that quote, James Williams, Terrence Lewis both want to play college football together. Then we see crystal balls to Auburn or Texas A&M all over Twitter. By the way, James Coley is on that staff. Jimbo Fisher, he's one of the best recruiters, in the state of Florida. He's done a tremendous job, and he's doing a great job at Texas A&M. I think we hit the transfer portal if we don't land on the blue chip prospects we go all in for.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think the transfer portal is going to be bigger than ever this offseason.
yeah.
And I think if De'Ara King returns, we don't take a quarterback. If he does leave for the draft, you have to go to the transfer portal just for insurance because N'Kosi Perry, let's say he leaves, let's say Peyton Matoka leaves, then you just have Tyler Van Dyke.
I completely forgot
need
Kosi's on
people.
our team.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, he's expected to graduate, I think, this year. So I think he will move forward, go to another program, or maybe he'll
Yeah.
stay. I don't know. But if Tyler Van Dyke is the guy, you still need insurance as
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
quarterback. So, I think we grab a transfer portal quarterback instead of going to the high school ranks. And I'm perfectly fine with that. You can win with transfer quarterbacks. Lincoln Riley showed that at Oklahoma. It is a Band-Aid, and it could hurt after a while, but if you have the right offensive mind, like Lincoln Riley did at Oklahoma, it seems like we have the right guy with Rhett Lashley. I think you can get the ball rolling. So that's just my opinion.
Let me make a point on the transfer portal part. Miami, in terms of the transfer portal, you know how I think uh, college football players view Miami? They view Miami as that fifth official visit that they're going to take because it's Miami, but you're really not going to go there. Except with the transfer portal, people are going to go there because you graduated already. You just want to go somewhere to make an impact, like Roche, go somewhere to make an impact. Ever since Manny's been here, he has hit big on the transfer portal. Okay. At the time, everybody thought Martell, oh my God, that was a big deal. It was a big deal. It was the right guy to get. We needed a quarterback, whatever, boom. Same thing last year. Roche, Phillips, or Roche Phillips was 2 years ago. But I think Miami's always gonna be awesome picking up transfer portal guys because it's the last stop before you go pro. Why not? Oh, a year in Miami just to play football. I already graduated. I'm gonna worry about classes. Sure. I think Miami's gonna be golden
Well, you
in
gotta
that
think
aspect.
too. You gotta think too. Miami is always, even now, even the 15 years of misery for a lot of us is, I mean, we still get nationally televised games
Of course.
every time. We have whether it's at noon, whether it's at 3:30, whether it's at 8 o'clock. so especially you got guys like Roche, played at Temple. Like, where do you want to get recognized?
Exactly.
I'm going to go ball out, get more eyes on me, whatever. If we win, we win, whatever. And then I'm going to go to the draft. That's just the way it's going to happen. I mean, that's the way it's going to happen. I mean, so
and what people are forgetting too is these guys are getting paid next year.
Yeah. Oh my! If I'm Manny Diaz, this would be my agenda. I take every recruit that wants to play in the NFL, like a Quincy Roche, for example, Sierra King. I do a meet and greet with Drew Rosenhaus. I take them through Gables Estates, Coco Plum. And I show them, hey, that little college town in BFE, Clemson, South Carolina, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, this is where the big boys play. If you want to make your money and you want to live like a king, you come play your final year of college football at the University of Miami. There's no better place to play than Miami.
Well, yeah, because at that point they've already gotten their whole college experience out of the way. That's the thing. They've already gotten. If they're partying, they've already partied. If they're going to sorority houses and going to frat houses, they've already done all that. They're juniors and seniors now. They're like, all right, I want to get paid. I want to go to the NFL.
It's literally their money year.
Yeah, exactly.
Ross, we went over recruiting. We went over the Duke game. We went over a little bit about coaches. At the end of the year, Manny Diaz always evaluates his staff. Do you think there's any coach that needs to be evaluated? Now, keep in mind, guys, we lost 7 games last year. We're now number 10 in the nation, 7-1, and we have bowl projections to play either Florida or Texas A&M in the Orange Bowl.
I immediately go right to Pat Key and to Rumpf. They're the two guys that, I mean, we're seeing the rest of our positions improve and pick up the pace in recruiting. We're seeing it year after year, and we're not seeing that happen at those two positions. And when something starts to become bluntly clear like that, and if we go through another cycle, let's say we go through this cycle and we strike out on cornerbacks, does that make you comfortable about Rumpf recruiting in the next cycle, that he's going to be the guy that's going to help us actually get the guy we want? It doesn't make me comfortable in that at all, honestly. Those two guys, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, everybody else is actually pretty safe right now. It's those two guys that really stick out to me.
Anyone else wants to chime in on that? Any other coach you can think of?
Yeah,
any improvements we can do as a football program for the 2021 season? Because we got Alabama. I mean,
yeah, I'll chime in real quick. I think, I think on the offensive side of the ball, you're good. I do think those hires are going to matriculate over the years. I really like Greg Likens. You're already seeing it. Like, what he's done with Pope and Harley just over the last couple games. Yeah, maybe it took that little kick in the ass and said, hey, you got young guys, breathing down your neck, pick it up. But I think the proof is in the pudding with him. He's put 2 first-rounders into the draft from ASU. I think if you give him years to culminate and get these young guys and get them ready to play, I think you're going to really see that pay off. Lashley, I think you need to enjoy him for maybe 1 more year because I think he's gone after that. I love when they asked him all these questions about, like, do you want to stay in Miami? And he didn't really answer. Like, he kind of was like, if the opportunity presents itself, obviously I'm going to, be excited and take a look at it. He didn't really say, no, I just want to stay in Miami my whole career. So I think he's probably maybe 1 more year and then someone's going to swipe him up. But the offensive side of the ball is good for me. Defense side of the ball, I just don't understand what Pat Pete does. That's the only thing. I don't like, what does he do? Like that, like, he doesn't recruit anyone elite. So he's not there for recruiting. Like, I know he's the linebackers, but he's like the linebacker / like specialty coach. It's kind of weird. I've never understood the specialty coach thing. Like, a kicker knows how to kick, a punter knows how to punt. I know, like, the formations and getting down the field and all that. But the only thing with me is, I know everyone's been critical about Rumpf. I know we're beating a dead horse. But what we always said about Rumpf was, at least he develops these players. And I don't know about you, but I've been a critical person of Al Blades, DJ Ivy. Like, have they regressed? I thought I came into this year saying I think Al Blades is solidified that number 1 spot. And now he's getting passed over by Corey Couch. and he looks like he's been getting burnt the last couple of games. So we've been talking about, oh, we'll deal with Rump because he develops the players, but like the cornerbacks seem like they're regressing a little bit. The only guy that plays with any sort of edge is Corey Couch. So it's like at this point, it's like, what are we keeping him for? Like he doesn't really present us with any positives. So that's the only guy I would look at in Papke. Those are the only two guys.
My thing with Rumph is I've been on record saying I honestly I back the guy. I back Manny, and if Manny doesn't think you're getting it done, he's gonna shape up or ship out, and he doesn't have any problem doing that. So if he's here, it's for a reason. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not an insider. I'm not gonna pretend I know. All I could do is speculate. But if he's good with Manny, he's good with me. I trust Manny. That's my thing. The other thing with Rumph is who you gonna get. Like, if you want to upgrade, okay, let's think about guys. We're not getting a guy off LSU. We're not getting Travaris Robinson. At least I don't think, even though me and him went to the same high school. He's from Miami, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Muschamp, that's a pipe dream. That's just not going to freaking happen. But and by the way, I'm talking about coordinators. We're talking about a position coach here. I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, Packy, go ahead.
I realistically don't think anything's going to happen.
Me neither. Especially if we're winning.
Yeah, if you have a good year like this, and then Papke's his boy, so Papke's not going anywhere. Rum's been there for years. So I mean, if we're 9-2 or 10-1 after all this, like I don't think anyone leaves. I don't think anyone gets fired.
But if we're a 10-win team and those guys can't get the caliber recruits we need, what's the problem then? I mean, shouldn't this match up at some point in time to where our wins show up in the recruiting at those positions as well?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a great point. I literally don't have anything to say to that. You make a good point. Like you're completely right. I mean, maybe we'll see it. I mean, Rump is known for pulling rabbits out of a hat at the last minute. Like Christian Williams came out of nowhere. Obviously, he's gone now. But
hey, Ivy has been playing bad. He's had maybe a game or two to start the season. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" He's been playing good.
He's played a lot better. My qualms is with Blades. I don't know what's happened to him. He just seems like at last 3 or 4 games, he looks lost. He looks lost out there. I don't know what happened.
Do you guys know who's in charge of Frierson's development with him playing striker by any chance?
Isn't Coach Packy the strikers coach as well?
I think he is. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, he's the most improved player on the team.
One guy that's done well, you know. I mean, I'll give it. Frierson's played well, you know, but we're picking and choosing Couches and Friersons and stuff. We should be talking about different kind of guys, in my opinion, you know.
Frierson, I think, is the most. I think has played the best on the defense the whole year.
Wow,
yeah, he's been solid.
Defensive MVP. He's been all over the field every game. You know, like he just seems like he's in the right position.
My thing with Frierson is that guy had the best guy to play behind for however many years, because Romeo Finley was always in the right place at the right time.
Yep.
And to me, athletically, Frierson was an upgrade because he's a better athlete than Romeo was. But Romeo up here had it all. That guy was never out of position.
I loved Romeo Finley, man. I thought he was the most underappreciated player on our defense.
Absolutely. I'm looking at the coaches right now just to answer your question. So hold on. Okay. Co-D coordinator, safeties, Banda, assistant coach, outside linebackers, Packy. I don't see. I mean, I guess maybe the striker lies within. I don't know, but I don't see the guy that coaches a striker. It doesn't say strikers on the next to any of these guys' names.
It's probably linebacker.
So, probably linebacker, yeah, which would be Packy. Outside linebackers is probably gonna be him.
Been bashing him, and he's developed technically probably the most improved player.
Having him develop a guy at a hybrid position and not develop guys at the regular positions is still an issue to me. You know, I mean, I want to see it all around. Maybe I ask too much from my position coaches. I don't know, but I want to see talent improve every year a coach is on staff. Basically, I want to see young guys show development. That's what I want to see. And we're seeing some stuff from guys like Brooks and Flagg and stuff. And while they're really young, you know, we got to take our time with them. There is some upside there. So I think Packy could save himself a little time with the fact that we do have young quality upside at that position. But I mean, he's going to need to show it next year. Those guys are going to need to show some development, because if it's not a COVID year again and things aren't weird, that's where coaches start ending up more on the chopping block, in my opinion. This whole COVID stuff has really weirded things out.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Speaking of a COVID year, college football playoff rankings did come out tonight. Surprisingly, Miami stays at number 10 and gets jumped by another 2-loss team, Iowa State, who lost by like 17 to the Ragin' Cajuns, I believe. I don't even know what school in Louisiana they're a part of. It's like Louisiana or Louisiana Lafayette. How are we feeling about this, guys? Personally, for me, I'm a little bit insulted, that we just stayed at 10. We should have moved up. North Carolina loses to Notre Dame and they move up 2 rankings. Maybe we have to lose to Notre Dame. I don't know. Maybe that's the secret. It does hurt at the same time. Like we just mentioned, it is a COVID year. We're not going to make the college football playoffs. Even if we did crash the college football playoffs, like we're not going to win. We're not going to compete against Clemson, or maybe we play Notre Dame. Hey, we put up a fight. Maybe we'll win. I don't know, but it's not going to look pretty on our part if we play Alabama, Texas A&M. I think the bowl game is your Super Bowl for Miami. That's what I'm picturing. For me personally, we don't win a lot of bowl games at Miami in quite a while. I think 2016 against West Virginia, and then I think it was Reno. Was the Bluegrass game against Nevada in Boise, Idaho. Was the last bowl game before that. I think that was 2006. So it was like it's been like 2 bowl wins and 2 bowl wins in a while.
I think that was Coker's last game, I think. Kirby Freeman won that damn game. Jesus Christ.
Kirby Freeman.
Wow.
How are we feeling, guys, about the rankings?
I'll kick it off. I'm pissed, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm freaking pissed. I'm just gonna be honest about it, because if it's maybe because we haven't played for 3 weeks, whatever. But after we trounce Duke, this all better be fixed, because you said it. Iowa State loses to a Louisiana Lafayette team. And now, so funny too, they always have plans for this. Now Louisiana Lafayette is 25 in the college football playoff ranking. So that way they can say, oh, it was a good loss. It was an okay loss. Like, it's so funny how they try to like manipulate the system to make it okay. But my problem is that happens. If that happened to Miami wouldn't sniff the rankings for freaking 7 weeks. It's one of those things where it's frustrating. And then the Georgia one is even more frustrating. Both the games they lost weren't even games. They weren't even close games. And then their best win is against Auburn, which Auburn lost to a 2-7 South Carolina team. And they have 2 losses. We have 1 loss against the number 3 team in the nation. Like make it make sense. That's the thing. I don't really understand. If I sit here and say, do I think we're the number 8 or number 7 or whatever team in the nation? No. But the circumstances that have happened, we should be ranked there. That's where I'm at. Like, with everything on paper, we should be the number 8 team in the nation right now. Like, that's just realistically where we should be. Our only loss, and this is the number 3 team in the nation, a full stacked team, had their generational quarterback playing. It was on the road. Like, it's just so funny to me. Like, it's like that's forgotten, where it's like this Notre Dame win. They played their backup quarterback. They played at home. They barely won. They sneaked it out, like in overtime. Like, but they're like rah-rah Notre Dame. And then now the ACC is doing this whole BS where they're not even letting them finish the schedule, which is it's got me even more enraged. It was like enraged after enraged tonight. And by the way, I do have a scenario that I tweeted it last night. I got 2 nights ago, got like 1,000 likes. It went crazy. I do have a scenario that we can make the college football playoff. I can say it here if you want. But I crunched the numbers, and it actually is not that far-fetched, and it's kind of interesting because all the teams in front of us have a realistic chance of losing another game. And if you think about it this way, it's the number 5 team in the nation, Texas A&M, plays Auburn this week on the road. That's a real game they can lose. They lose that game. Florida's going to lose another game. They're going to get killed by Bama in the SEC championship game. If Miami wins out and they're 10-1 and Texas A&M loses, Florida loses, Cincinnati loses their AAC championship game, which is very possible. They lose as well. Miami wins out. They already are going to jump Georgia and Iowa State because they'll be 10-1. They'll both have 2 losses. So all you need is those 3 teams to lose that I mentioned, and then you're vying for that 4th spot. And then it just depends on Ohio State. And if they want to let them in with 5 games being played, then that's what happens. But there's a realistic shot if Miami wins out. I don't really want them to because it's going to be ugly, but it's not as far-fetched as you think.
May I, Paul? My thing is, okay, yeah, that could play out, right? But are the teams going to drop far enough for Miami to pass them? Because Miami bias is what? Real. Notre Dame bias is what? Real. Let me vent and let me take you back to 2005, okay? Maybe one of the best college football games I've ever seen. Number 1, USC travels to South Bend. Believe it's Charlie Weiss's year 1, the Bush push game. Jeff Samardzija has a hell of a game. Matt Leinart didn't have a good game. Bush had a crazy game. USC was ranked number 1. Notre Dame was ranked number 9. Okay, Notre Dame loses a game, very close game. They should have won. Rankings come out the very next day. Notre Dame did not budge from the rankings. They stayed at 9 after losing to number 1 USC at home, and now gave them a second loss. I actually agreed with that when I saw that they didn't budge because that game was awesome. I saw it from beginning to end. And that's a game that I wasn't even going to watch, but the hype leading up to that game again, because it was Charlie Weiss's, I want to say, first year, and there was a rumor that Notre Dame let the grass grow at the stadium to kind of slow down USC's speed. I don't know if that was confirmed or not, but whatever. Awesome game. They really should have won. All right. They stay there. Fast forward to this year. They they escape with victory at home against an undermanned Louisville team. Okay. The same week that Georgia loses to the second ranked team in the country, I think Alabama was at that point, because Georgia was 3. You're probably thinking, and Notre Dame was 4. You're probably thinking, well, yeah, Notre Dame should move up, guys, Mike, because the team ahead of them lost. I say that's bullcrap, and you want to know why? I don't care if Georgia lost to the second ranked team in the country. They lost to the second ranked team in the country. At the half, they were winning. They get shut out in the second half. They didn't score a point. Okay. That's what Bama does. Okay. Nobody's beating Bama. All right. That's the same week that Clemson rolled up like 70 something points on Georgia Tech. And I have a theory behind that because I believe Dabo knew that the student, Kirby Smart, was not going to beat the master in Nick Saban. So he said, let's roll up these points because we got to show something if, because we know what's going to happen later. We can't let Notre Dame, do whatever, or, the rankings, we know how people think. So Notre Dame bias is real. I feel, I don't care how Georgia Tech lost that game. I don't think they should have jumped them because they look like crap beating Louisville at home, and Georgia lost to Bama. All right. And that game was what? It was a home game for Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm okay with their rankings right now. I mean, Iowa State passing us, I get the beef. It doesn't really piss me off right now because when they say the best time to lose is what? Early. They lost to Louisiana Lafayette, first game of the year, 31-14. Since then, they lose their second game at number 6 OK State by 3 points. Okay, but they beat OU, who was ranked 18. They beat Texas, who was ranked 17. So I get it, 2 losses, whatever. But it really doesn't bug me because that's a team that might beat Miami. I don't know. They're 7-2. They're first in the Big 12. I want to talk about BYU. Why the hell does everybody think that they got jobbed, okay, without Vaseline, when they are beating teams, scoring a lot of points, but those a lot of points are going against teams like, they first started the first CFP rankings at 14. They move up, now they're 13. They blow out Navy. They kill Troy. They beat up Louisiana Tech. UTSA, they only won by 7. They beat Houston. They kill Texas State, Western Kentucky. Oh, they beat a ranked Boise State team. UNA, who the hell's UNA? They're beating like the Sisters of the Poor by a lot of points. Why is everybody so? And plus, they're supposedly ducking Washington. I don't know the truth behind that, if there's any facts. But what is the infatuation with people in BYU? I don't get it.
I think it's like kind of the feel-good story and the underdog story. People want to get behind. They're the team in the middle of nowhere that doesn't always show up. Dude, trust me, bro. I'm not with it either. I'm not with this crap either. I've watched what happens to BYU when they play decent teams and they get slaughtered. So I'm not convinced that this Zach Wilson quarterback is going to make a huge difference when it comes to playing the elite guys. Dude, I think a lot of it's just the feel-good kind of thing. You know, small team, middle of nowhere. You know, let them get some of their shine and glory, I guess, for a minute.
The field goal story to me should be Indiana. That's who they beat a Wisconsin team. Cincinnati, I don't have faith in them. But to me, that's the feel good story of the year, especially now with Penix, however you pronounce his last name. I know he just tore his ACL, but to me, that's the bigger story than freaking BYU. I mean, at least they're in a Power 5.
Yep. I mean, my thing is Cincinnati is a good team, man. I'm a UCF alum. And I mean, I get this. I get this a little bit because I know UCF has their gripe with 2017 and everything and not getting a shot. And like, I get it. I get where they're coming from. You know, they took care of the people on their schedule and they beat most of them fairly handily. So, I mean, I get it. I do think they deserve to be higher than 13 just because, you know, and what does it hurt? I just think they should, you know, you're undefeated at this point in the year. You've beaten everyone on your schedule pretty badly. You know, I mean, you can look at us and say, who have we beaten?
Yeah.
I mean, most of the teams
ACC teams at least.
Yeah, but most of them are trash, man. I mean, let's be serious. Like, I watched NC State almost lose to Syracuse last week. Like, and that's our best win on our schedule, technically. So, I mean, you can't really – it's one of those things where I just think they should be in the top 10. I mean, or top 11 at least, you know, maybe behind us. But I mean, I think that's where their gripe is, and they don't want to be like 4 or in the top 6. But like, I think the fact that they were pissed is because they're at 14, which is literally just pretty much a slap in the face. But I mean, Cincinnati is a good team, man, and I really do think they have a shot to sneak in at 4 because the AAC is a good conference, man. It really is. It's a pretty solid conference. You play some pretty solid teams in that conference. I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, you have Memphis is decent. You have SMU. You have Tulsa, who's now in the top 25. You know, they're pretty well-rounded. They're obviously not as good as the Power 5 conferences, but, you know, if they go 11-0 and win their conference, I mean.
You want to know what's going to happen if they get in? You want to know what's going to happen? Remember the year when Hawaii was looking really, really good and they played Georgia in the Sugar Bowl? That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. They're going to get humbled.
Cincinnati's got a little bit better athletes than Hawaii, but this year at least. But I mean, Hawaii that year was all just because what was the name? Colt Brennan, was that his name?
Colt Brennan and that June Jones that June Jones
system. Up like
yeah.
video game numbers, and it was against like nobodies, and that was the problem. Was Hawaii? They didn't have physicality. Cincinnati is a physical team. They have Luke Fickell. He's the old DC at Ohio State. I mean,
they got some guy that's coaching running backs. I forget his name.
Who knows? Who knows who that is, bro?
But I think they can hang, man, for like a half. I really do. I think they'd be able to hang for like a half, and then they would get absolutely obliterated by Bama.
We're talking about top 10 teams, and you brought up already, Kevin, our marquee win is North Carolina State. Well, let's just take Miami out of the top 10. We're not even talking about us right now. If you're looking at the top 10 AP poll, do you expect to see a marquee win under each one of those top 10 teams?
You know who has probably the best game left on their schedule out of the top 10 teams? If you take conference championships out of it, is Miami, because the CFP actually did Miami a huge favor by moving North Carolina State up 2 spots to 17. They're going to destroy, I think they play Western Carolina. They're going to destroy them this week. I wouldn't be surprised if they come into Hard Rock top 15, and guess who gets to play them? Miami. If they take care of business, if we win, and if we can somehow win by like double digits, then that's a good win at the end of the year. You know, that could help us help us at least pass Georgia and Iowa State and get to where we need to be with 1 loss. So, I mean, the CFP kind of did us a favor by keeping North Carolina State, like, at least in the mix, like in the top 15 almost.
Well,
You mean UNC, right? You're talking
Yeah.
about North Carolina. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just make it. Okay. All right.
Yeah, they moved up 2 spots with their loss.
Yeah.
So they're 17 now.
Yeah.
And if you look at everyone else's schedules, like in the top 10, they don't have anyone on their schedules until they play like a conference championship game. I think the one that has like the best game left on their schedule, other than us now, is I think Texas A&M. They play Auburn, who I think is still ranked, even though they have 3 losses and they lost to South Carolina. But whatever, I digress. But I mean, we have the best game left on the schedule, technically, for top 10 team.
Then we better go and beat North Carolina, honestly. If we want to get the respect that we feel we deserve, let's go out and beat the team that we need to beat then,
They'll beat North Carolina.
And I think we will. We'll be at home, and North Carolina's defense is very bad. So, it's going to be high scoring, I think, but I think we'll take it.
The Miami Hurricanes, they can't control rankings. They can't control the minds of the College Football Playoff Committee, but what they can control is beating the Duke Blue Devils in Durham, North Carolina, Saturday night, primetime television. Ross, what is your score prediction?
I got us at 33-17.
I will go. I just think Duke's defense is bad. I do think we'll have a little bit of a rust issue for the first quarter, but I'm gonna go 40-17. I think we cover the spread.
Mike?
I was thinking 41-20.
Yeah, I got 44-20. I think our offense scores a lot of big points. I really do. I think we'll be fine. And I think this is going to be a big offensive performance by us. But nonetheless, guys, Kevin, Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you don't know about these guys, go check them out. Kev, he hosts the Canecast podcast, does a ton of great work. Mike, he runs the Mike McCoy Show. I believe it's on Sirius XM channel 104.5?
145.
145. Perfect. Check those guys out, man. So thank you so much for taking time out of your night, guys. And always all about the U.
Thanks, guys. Go Canes.